Thank you for tuning in to another episode of RIA Collective. My name is Charlie Van Derven. I'm the host of the show. I also own a little business called Social Advisors, where we help financial advisors help more people. That's kind of our altruistic path in life. Along those lines, I've got a great guest today. But first, let me tell you a little bit about RIA Collective. If you haven't tuned in before, I've been working in this industry for two decades, I guess. And that's a long time. It's to kind of witness trends. And one of the trends I've seen that's consistent, our guest is going to speak to this a little bit as well, is we've watched this migration in our industry move from that captive environment for financial advisors into a much greater kind of independent role. I love watching it. I started my career working with wirehouses, setting up websites, and I've been on the independent side now for, I guess, 12 or 13 years. I really think that independent advisors can serve their clients better because you don't have the biases of the big firms. And so that's something we're unpacking on RIA Collective, in addition to bringing advice from RIA leadership to help younger advisors in our industry who want to make that independent move. Just give them advice, what helps you go a little more smoothly, and things you can concentrate on as you carve that path to independence. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest today, McKenzie Frankel. McKenzie, I was drawn to your profile on LinkedIn and invited you to be on the show because of the experience you had with some of those big boxes before. I don't know if that's a good term or not to use, but kind of those big box firms before you went independent, right? And then when we had our conversation last week, I was even more drawn to you for your your guidance around leadership and some of the things that you've done at your RIA Entrust Financial in Wayne, Pennsylvania, some of the things you've done to help build a team and be a better leader to that team. So I talk a lot, McKenzie. I'm going to try to shove as much as I can for the next 20 minutes or half hour, let you get a word in edgewise. McKenzie, welcome to RIA Collective, and thank you so much for being my guest today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, very cool. So, in doing my research and getting prepped for today, one of the questions I like to ask our guests is really what drew you to the industry. And of course, everybody's answer is a little different, right? But yours was unique in that kind of you feel like your life was cut out for this industry. A service to others is really what's defined your life. And that drew you to financial services, where you can make a great big impact on a lot of people's lives. Let's talk about that a little bit. How'd you get into financial services?
Yeah, so I randomly got into financial services. I would say I've always known from, a young teenager that I really wanted to make a large impact on people in a positive way, and really help people. And that's always been what has driven me. But I never really realized I was going to be a financial advisor. That was really very random, honestly. And I've actually always really have enjoyed money to a degree. I'm not somebody that's ever feared money. I've always been somebody that thought it was really interesting that you could invest your money and let it grow for you. My mom used to read the Wall Street Journal with me at a really young age, and she talked to me about like what she was doing. And so, I just combined my passion for wanting to help people and my enjoyment around money. And that's how I became a financial advisor.
That is so awesome. And it's amazing the number of people when I ask a question like that, where they found the industry by accident. My friend Mark up in Canada, we had a conversation last week, and he was serving big corporations, and somebody invited him to hear more about their business. And all of a sudden he was a financial advisor because for similar reasons, right? It was later in his career, but it was about, I don't want to make this corporation stronger. I want to make people stronger.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because actually during the time I didn't actually know what a financial advisor really was, because I grew up in where my mom was kind of doing it herself for the family. Yeah. And so I actually didn't know what a financial advisor was, but I went to a career event, and that's where I met my soon-to-be manager from UBS Wealth Management at the time.
Yeah, very cool. Doors open, right? I love that. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about your experience with UBS and Morgan Stanley, I believe, prior to that step to independence. What were those years like? How long were you there? Let's talk about that. And then the big benefit of starting your career in those, in those environments.
Yeah, it was so, I mean, it was very, my first so I was hired on, at UBS Wealth Management, and they hired like a class of people, there was like 10 of us hired on. We're all like younger in our careers, and we all go in to it with like this great expectation that it's going to be great and we're going to all be so successful. And then, people just started dropping off like
Yes.
flies. So I mean, eventually 2 years passed and I watched, basically there was 10 of us and 8 people all kind of dropped off the chain for various reasons of not meeting the quotas. And it was just me left standing. And another actually woman who was like a lot older than me at that point.
Okay.
And she'd teamed up with another advisor, and my manager had called me in to talk to me. And I was like, listen, it's been great, but I can't do this anymore. Like, this isn't going to work for me. I'm failing. I'm barely making anything. And this is not happening. And he, at that point, he paired me up with another, a senior advisor. And I was like, okay, great. Like, I can make this work. He's going to mentor me and it's going to be fantastic. And maybe like 2 weeks after I met him, he was like, yeah, by the way, I'm moving my book of business to Morgan Stanley. I was like, he's like, do you want to come with me? So I said, okay.
Wow.
And I came with him under the terms that I would serve as a client service associate. And I did that for the 2 years while I was there. And it was tough. It was a really tough business. I had no idea how tough it was going to be, especially as a young woman at that point. It was really tough because it was really mostly middle-aged men.
Yep.
And it was hard to be taken seriously. But I ended up sticking it out for a number of years, and I learned a lot from all those advisors. I mean, I think it's a great experience, honestly, because you're surrounded by so many different advisors, and you can see how they do their business differently and how they've all managed to be successful in different, but just doing it differently. So that helped me to figure out really how I wanted to run my business.
Cool. I love that. And we chatted last week, and I shared with you early in my career was websites for wirehouses, which I ran business development for a firm that was cranking out sites for Smith Barney, Morgan Stanley, RBC, Ameriprise, I don't know how many, a whole bunch of others. And so a lot of my time was on the road setting up websites in specifically Smith Barney branches. So we can, it was before 2008, I think, was that merger with Morgan Stanley. So that dates me a little bit. But the exposure to all those advisors, and I don't know, I was in 100 branches over a year, right? So how many advisors did I interface with just in that role? I echo that. I think it's great. And it serves me in the coaching role that I do, right? Because you get to see so many different ways that people are able to structure their business, the people they help, the way they help them. And yeah, what an awesome exposure.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it was terrible at the time. I mean, I remember the struggles. I remember the stress around it, like I'm never going to get anywhere kind of feling.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, when I look back, it was a really great experience.
Many years later, McKenzie, I still feel that way some days.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get anywhere. Gosh. Yeah. Some days, but not too many, but some days it still comes up. I want to talk about, I want to plug a friend of mine while we talk about this, because you brought up being a woman in, middle-aged man's environment. And again, my time in the industry, I've seen that happen, and I've seen a huge transition. I'm going to plug my friend Cheryl Hickerson real quick. Not that she sponsored the show or anything like that. She's got an awesome group called Females in Finance. So, and it's not all women, it's all people supporting the growth of women in the industry. So anybody who's listening, McKenzie, yourself, you're not aware of Cheryl and her group, Females in Finance. I think it's 4,000 people strong at this point. I mean, it's Cheryl does an awesome job, bringing great references and support to the female side of the industry. And it's been wonderful to watch that grow. And, frankly, in my experience, I think women are more nurturing with clients. Of course, huge generalization there, but, I think that's a really great way for the industry to be moving. So let's move on a little bit from that wirehouse time. You depart that environment. How does that happen, right? You're in this CSA role with Morgan Stanley. Did you ever go into production with Morgan, or was that always on the customer service side?
The deal of me moving with him was that I could still cultivate a client base. So I did have clients, and I was doing kind of a quasi financial advisor CSA role. And I was growing my book at that point.
Cool. So that, and I'd love to hear that, because I know pretty shortly after all that, Entrust Financial becomes an option for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about the transition. And one of the things I'm curious about as you talk about that transition is, did you retain assets? Did you just depart without that? And anything you did well that you feel like in preparation for that, or anything you would do differently in making that move?
Yeah. So I did, so basically I decided I was going to move because I realized that I was not really ever going to be able to do what I really wanted to do. Okay. At the end of the day, when I became a financial advisor, I didn't realize that when I entered UBS or entered Morgan Stanley, that it was really a sales role.
Yeah.
That has never been my passion, right?
Right.
What I've always envisioned was that I could be a financial advisor and kind of like create almost like a doctor's practice where people come in, tell you what their issues are, and really the investments are just tools for helping them. So I wanted really a more holistic approach. And I started at the time, I didn't really know what even the CFP was. So I started kind of just looking around on the internet and doing some research on my own. And then I found the CFP program and I was like, oh, well, I need this. I need to do this.
Yeah.
And I went to my mentor at the time and I was like, I really want, and they're like, why? Yeah, you don't need to do that. You just need to meet people, sell product, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I just know this isn't going to work. So I began looking around and I ended up stumbling into who was now my business partner. At the time, she was at Lincoln Investment Planning. And we started working like side by side. We were 1099 through Lincoln Investment Planning, and we started working side by side. And she became my mentor, and it was great. It was great the fact that I was thrilled to have found another woman who was a successful financial advisor, and also it was fantastic because she was running her practice the way that I wanted to run my practice. Yeah. We had the same values. And so we worked for a while as 1099 through Lincoln Investment Planning. And then I guess we worked for it was 6 years together. And then we decided to become independent. So in March 2015, we pulled the trigger and went totally independent and moved everything over to Schwab. Yeah. And so that was a very difficult transition, becoming independent, right? Because it was all those things we thought we knew, but then all those business related things that you don't really think about in terms of the different systems that you need. Just the bookkeeping and the,
Right.
the compliance and all those different systems that you had to really vet and figure out what's best. And then hiring, whoa, that was something else.
Yeah.
The first few years, I would say what we really struggled was hiring. We were just picking the wrong people. And we went through 5 employees in 5 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part on our, in our business too, right? We've got a great team, but we're 9 years in. It wasn't always that way. And so it's taken, I hate to say trial and error because you like to do your diligence up front and hopefully you get that trial in before you make the hire, but you never really know, who you're hiring. Look good on paper doesn't mean it's going to translate into a great relationship. And of course there's interpersonal aspects of that. So listen, I can empathize with your position there because building a team's tough.
It is very tough.
Absolutely. That leads us into some of the things that you talked about with leadership, right? I connected with you thinking, wow, McKenzie's got, great experience at the larger firms and then going independent. But then when we got acquainted last week, your take on the structure of the business, your take on leadership, excited me even more about this conversation. Why don't we talk a little bit about that? Maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit because I know I had that listed a little bit later in our questions, but it makes sense. Talk about how you made that transition from that, that difficult, the difficulty of building that team to, you shared with me where you're at today. And it sounds pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah. Well, what we've realized, or what I realized anyway, it was like, okay, well, we're hiring these people and they don't really care as much as we care about making this business work and be successful. And I didn't want it to be that way. I wanted it to people feel like they actually have skin in the game and they're, working towards a greater good, right?
Yeah.
So we actually ended up changing the structure of our company. We work with a company called FP Transitions, and they helped us to change the structure of our company so we can actually allow for other employees to actually own shares of the company as well.
Yeah.
And so the goal for us is that, everybody is an owner to some degree, right? And it could be as much as, 3% of shares, but to have that ownership, I just feel it takes, and then when we start recruiting now, when we are recruiting for employees, we make sure that we're hiring people who really are, who want to be business owners, who really like that thought of being partners and having skin in the game. So that is part of the vetting process. And to be honest with you, that's really helped us quite a bit because, we haven't, knock on wood, we are not now having turnover. We have people that are really committed to the growth of Entrust, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that absolutely is. How do I ask this question? You bring new personalities in.
Mhm.
And of course, everybody's going to take a look at your business. In coaching, I like to say, I can spot the mosquito on your back before I can spot the elephant on mine, right?
Yeah.
So it's really easy, especially with the position of perspective that you have over the years, to say, no, you need to do it this way, right? But then difficult, someone could walk into social advisors and tell me the same thing, right? You need to do it this way based on their experience. So you've got people that come in the door. They've got this kind of entrepreneurial mindset a little bit. So they've got some ownership in the business. Do you ever struggle with that when you got people coming in that have that entrepreneurial mindset, in kind of assimilating them into the structure as opposed to the opinions they bring from elsewhere?
Yeah, well, actually we value their opinions, I will say. A lot of we structure quarterly bonuses around things that they want to, like projects that they want to take on in terms of what do they think Entrust needs in terms of improving how we do things. So I like when people have opinions. I like when people had different experiences that they can bring to the table and teach me something new. We try to hire people that have skill sets that are, different and they do things better to a certain degree than I do. That's what I want. And I think that's the way that we're going to be stronger. So, we do have people, we have quarterly bonuses that they kind of create the theme on. So like if it's a client service person, like more operational, it might be like create a new scheduling system, figure out a new scheduling system, figure out a client survey, like client surveys or how to do that, things of that nature. Just, and we always poll and set a goal, at the beginning of the year. These are, as a team, we decide like, what is it that we want to do for the year? What do we think needs to be improved? Of what we're already doing, what needs to be improved. So we get everybody, participating in that because I don't want it to be all on me.
I agree. And we follow an EOS model. So those are our rocks, right? Every quarter we sit down and talk about our rocks. What are we doing this quarter and how big is that? Also, I want to share with you one of my very favorite quotes. So I asked that question kind of to spur the response you gave me. Thank you for that.
Okay.
one of my favorite quotes is a Steve Jobs quote. Right. I'll get this wrong, but you'll get the idea. I don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. I hire smart people so they can tell me what to do. Right.
Yeah.
So, right. So bringing in that talent is really amazing. You've got a process to fulfill. You guys are not an assembly line, right? So it is, certainly that outside perspective makes everything stronger. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about Entrust, and I want to know kind of mission, values. Do you guys have any pet projects, and How do you contribute to Wayne, PA and beyond?
Yeah, so I mean, we are truly a boutique wealth management firm. We currently, there's 5 of us, and we are looking to grow. We do need to hire. We do need to actually move office space, but we're moving very close by. And we focus on helping entrepreneurs and business owners. A goal is to help people really preserve and build their wealth. And that's our focus group basically, because we are entrepreneurs and business owners, so we understand their needs.
Yeah, make the business community stronger. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and we
awesome.
do enjoy supporting, small business. And honestly, it's like I get juiced by helping entrepreneurs, because I think it's so interesting what they're doing and what they've accomplished. And it's just very, it's a very enjoyable experience when I'm helping business owners take it to another level in terms of their wealth. So there's that. And then as a community, I mean, we all do, we encourage everybody to get involved and volunteer in various ways, depending on what they are passionate about. So, I'm involved in various entrepreneurial groups and giving back in that way, and then we have like Temple University, which is a local university that we give to, and are involved in one of our members is a hockey advocate. Like they love hockey. They coach the junior leagues, and
Cool.
we give to those types of local businesses. So we got our hands in everything. Everybody does give, and Entrust does match their gift. So on a yearly basis.
Yeah, that's very cool. I really think that as goes the business community, so goes the community.
Mhm.
So I've done a lot of work with our local chamber and been involved in, coaching small businesses and seminars and things like that. I truly think that giving back to that business community helps prop up the community at large. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
McKenzie, tell me, are you guys growing? I mean, are you looking for maybe I should ask that more generally.
Yeah.
What's the direction? Are you recruiting advisors? Of course, we got listeners who might be thinking about going independent,
Yeah, we definitely, we want to recruit an advisor coming up here in 2023. So we do want another advisor to join us, and we're looking for somebody really that has, I would say, a smaller book of business.
Okay.
And that, because we have a lot of clients, and we're not the type of business where it's like, as a financial advisor, you got to go out and just hit the pavement and just continuously try to get new business. What we need is somebody that's willing to take on Entrust clients, like clients that we already have, and also be out there in the community, but also serving the team. We want a financial advisor that potentially has like a smaller book of business and that really wants to be a part of a wealth management team.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love that distinction, because I think one of the things I've seen over and over in my career, and you brought it up earlier, is, you end up at a UBS or a Morgan Stanley, and not them specifically, but a large firm like that. And your greatest skill, of course, prior to LinkedIn and the internet and stuff, was really the speed at which you dial a phone.
Yes.
Make these 200 calls a day. And, oh my gosh, I got my finance degree. I'm ready to help people. This isn't what I envisioned, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I love that you guys are embracing that team mentality versus you're a hunter, go get it. Right. So that's really cool. Listen, it's awesome to know you. I'm excited about the leadership that you bring to the industry. I'm excited about the boutique approach and support of entrepreneurs. Are you, listen, and McKenzie, I'll cut this out if you say no. Would you be a resource to our listeners if anybody's thinking about going independent and and they love your mindset about the way that you have built Entrust and structured that? Are you okay if our listeners reach out and contact you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Always happy to help.
Awesome. So what's the easiest way? Of course, the website is entrustfinancial.com. Did I get that right?
Our
Okay.
website's entrustfinancial.com, but the best way is just send me an email to McKenzie. It's McKenzie at Entrust Financial, and that's ENTRUST financial.com.
Cool. And I'll tell you what, McKenzie is pretty easy to find on LinkedIn, and she's responsive. That's how I met her too. So that's yeah. So McKenzie, you're awesome. I love what you guys are doing up in Wayne, Pennsylvania. I think you've got a refreshing mindset to an industry that maybe, I mean, it's transitioning, it's happening, but you know, it's kind of, you know, it's got some, it is, it's a big machine to move. So I'm excited about, and thank you for the way that you serve this industry. And thank you for spending time with me today. I appreciate it.
Charlie, thank you. And thank you for what you do and getting the word out and helping, you know, other financial advisors.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my pleasure. There's a mission in life. I truly think, and you know, maybe one day I'll get a cease and desist letter for this or something. I really think, you know, you brought up quotas and stuff, right? When you're at those big firms, you've got certain quotas, like, gosh, if there's a bank arm, you got to send, you know, so many banking leads a month, and you know, you got to fulfill on certain services. And I really think as soon as you serve the initiatives of the firm, it's really hard to serve purely the initiatives of your clients.
It is.
So, you know, maybe it's really hard to be a fiduciary and be in that environment. So I really think that the industry, I love to see it moving independent, because I think that that's where the industry serves people the best. So
I agree.
yeah, awesome. So everybody who tuned in, thank you once again for tuning into another episode of RIA Collective. My name is Charlie Van Derven. You've just listened to an interview with McKenzie Frankel. Of course, if you know anybody that is in an RIA leadership position that you think we should interview, maybe they got some hefty opinions about the industry that we can tap into, send them my way. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, or you can check out the website at riacollective.com.
Thank you.
Thank you, McKenzie.